Lamont Roach in training camp, ready for one of the biggest rematches in 2025 against Gervonta Tank Davis, one of the biggest faces of boxing. What a man.
Lamont Roach is pushing his limits in the gym, sharpening every punch with one goal in mind: to demolish Gervonta Tank Davis in their upcoming rematch on August 16th, 2025. With an aggressive mindset and hunger for redemption, Roach is ready to make Davis regret ever stepping into the ring with him. Roach isn't just talking the talk, he's backing it up with serious confidence. Here's what he had to say about his resilience and Davis's power. He stated, "He got decent power. He got decent power for sure. I ain't gonna say it's exaggerated. I just told you I got a chin. I ain't going like that. It's just not gonna happen." Roach knows Davis has power, but he's made it clear it won't be enough to knock him down. He stated, "But like I said, I see why he knocked people out. I just think he felt my power too. I think that's what negated a lot of his shots." Roach isn't intimidated by Davis's knockout ability. In fact, he believes that once Davis tasted his power, it threw him off his game. He stated, "Once I took his best shot, I was like, oh yeah, it's time to roll. Like I said, I knew I had a chin. I sparred guys that were like junior middleweights, like current champions that was at that weight, so I know I can take a punch." Roach isn't just surviving, he's thriving. He's sparred with champions, taken their best shots, and come out standing. And he's certain that when the bell rings on August 16th, he'll be the one in control. His mental toughness and physical conditioning are unmatched. Roach knows exactly what it takes to handle pressure and is ready to unleash a fury Davis won't be able to handle. Every round, he'll bring the fight to Davis, pushing him further than he's ever been before. This isn't just about power, it's about willpower. Roach has the heart and grit to take Davis's best and turn the tables when it counts. This time, it's Roach's time to dominate. As Roach gears up for the rematch, Gervonta's coach, Kenny Ellis, shared his thoughts on what the fight will bring.
I mean, it's business, you know?
Yeah.
No animosity. I mean, it's boxing business. But the second fight, yeah, it's always better than the first fight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ellis knows the second fight is going to be even more intense. With the business side of boxing in focus, it's about proving who truly belongs at the top. This time, both Roach and Davis will come prepared to take it to the next level. The stakes are even higher, and both fighters will need to dig deeper than before. The rematch is about showing growth and resilience, pushing beyond the limits of the first encounter. This time, the fire inside both men will burn brighter, and Ellis is confident the intensity will be unmatched. While Roach is ready to back up his words with action, Ellis also has a few thoughts about where the fight should take place. Here's what he had to say.
From over this on this side.
Yeah.
They neighbors, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to do it in the neutral zone because the animosity between DC and Baltimore might kick off, you know?
Yeah.
So you do it away from both states and
Yeah.
let them work.
Ellis believes the location of the fight is crucial, suggesting that it should be somewhere neutral to avoid any hometown distractions. With the rivalry between BC and Baltimore simmering, he feels the animosity could escalate if the fight were held on either fighter's turf. A neutral zone would give both fighters a fair chance to prove themselves without any external pressure. It's all about letting the two warriors battle it out without the distractions of regional pride. Ellis understands the intensity of the situation and knows how important it is to keep things cool. The focus should be on the fight itself, and a neutral venue could help keep it that way. As the anticipation for the rematch grows, the question on everyone's mind is who holds the edge going into the fight. Boxing analyst Greg Hackett offers his perspective on the matter.
Who has the edge heading into the rematch?
Neither one of them. Lamont, you know what, I'm lying. 55-45, Lamont.
Why?
Lamont got the edge because he already did the unexpected. He was supposed to get knocked out coming up from 130. And not only did he not get knocked out, he performed and possibly won the fight. That's what some people believe. I thought it was a very close fight. I think, but after you asked me that question, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I think Lamont do have a slight edge, just because he did what he wasn't supposed to do.
Hackett recognizes that Roach defied the odds in the first fight, proving everyone wrong by not only surviving but thriving in the ring. Coming up from a lower weight class, he was expected to be overpowered by Davis, yet he stood his ground and even made the fight a close call. Roach's performance shifted the momentum in his favor, giving him that edge heading into the rematch. Hackett's prediction is clear. Roach's resilience and unexpected success have given him the upper hand, making him the fighter to watch in the upcoming showdown. As the conversation around the power of the fighters continues, Brian Norman Jr. shares his thoughts on the hardest hitters in the sport.
I'll give you two of them, and to me, they both hit the exact same. Tank and also Edwin De Los Santos. So the two smallest guys is actually the two hardest punches I done hit. I mean, win against. But no, those two they got it because it's explosive. It's quick, but it's stiff as ever. You get what I'm saying? So
Norman points out that despite their smaller size, both Gervonta Davis and Edwin De Los Santos have some of the most explosive, hard-hitting punches in boxing. Their power comes from their quickness and precision, making their shots feel even more dangerous. It's not just raw strength, it's the way they strike, stiff and sharp, with the kind of impact that leaves a lasting mark. Norman's comment highlights the lethal combination of speed and power that both Davis and De Los Santos bring to the ring, making them formidable opponents for anyone. As the debate about Gervonta's and Roach's strengths rages on, former world champion Paulie Malignaggi offers his unique perspective on the two fighters' abilities.
Gervonta had natural God-given talent. He had natural blazing speed, twitch muscles, and power. Lamont didn't have that God-given talent, but you know where they evened out the stakes? Because it was such a big difference. Character and backbone. Lamont has a ton of character and backbone. Gervonta has none. So as soon as you push back on Gervonta Davis, he's looking for a way out. You push back on Lamont Roach, he's trying to get in your face. And that sort of evened the stakes. That was, if you watch the fight, that evened up the whole thing.
Malignaggi makes it clear, while Davis may have natural talent and explosive power, Roach levels the playing field with his relentless character and unshakable backbone. Whenever Davis faces resistance, he looks for an escape route, but Roach doesn't back down. He comes right back at you. This mental toughness is what turned the fight into a much more competitive battle. Roach's resilience and willingness to face adversity head on is what makes him a serious threat, no matter how much raw talent Davis brings to the table. The clash between skill and heart is what will ultimately decide this rematch, and Roach has shown he has the heart to go the distance. Building on his thoughts about the fighters' mentalities, Paulie Malignaggi breaks down Roach's strategy in the first fight and how it exposed Davis's weaknesses.
Now Lamont said, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I can't match him for speed. I can't match him for power. Let me hold my ground. Let me see what happens if I step to him while I keep fundamentally tight so that I don't give him the openings for his big power. And let me see how he reacts. Well, we saw how he reacts, but maybe he already knew how we'd react because they have a history. Like you said, we didn't know how we'd react. We got exposed for us. He took a knee. That's what he did.
Malignaggi points out that Roach, knowing he couldn't match Davis in raw speed or power, chose to stand his ground. By maintaining solid fundamentals and not giving Davis easy openings, Roach made Davis uncomfortable, and when the pressure mounted, Davis couldn't handle it, leading to the moment when he took a knee. Roach's decision to fight smart, using his technique over brute force, exposed a crack in Davis's armor. This moment revealed that under pressure, Davis isn't always the invincible force many think he is. Now, Roach knows exactly how to exploit those weaknesses and take full advantage in the rematch. The mental game will be just as crucial as the physical one when they step into the ring again. After analyzing the first fight and the strategies of both fighters, Paulie Malignaggi shifts his focus to the timing of the rematch.
He would have had a better chance in June because Lamont went on the big victory tour.
The victory
that he was gaining weight and all this other stuff. He could have done what Leonard did to the ring. But instead they've gone a little bit longer.
I like it better this way because
I like it better too. What I'm saying is for Gervonta's sake.
Malignaggi points out that Davis might have had a better shot if the fight had happened sooner, when Roach was still dealing with the aftermath of his big victory tour. Roach was gaining weight and maybe not in peak shape, which could have given Davis an advantage. But now that the fight is delayed, Malignaggi believes this extra time could actually work in Roach's favor, allowing him to refine his game plan and come in even stronger. For Davis, this delay may be a double-edged double-edged sword. It gives him more time, but it also means Roach gets more time to prepare and come in even more dangerous. As the rematch approaches, Chris Algieri delves into what changes Gervonta Davis might need to make in order to adjust to the challenge that Lamont Roach presents.
I'm really curious to see what transition or what changes that Gervonta can make going into the fight now, because now this is a whole new fight. The cat's out of the bag. Lamont could really fight. Gervonta knows he's going to be uncomfortable in the fight, so his preparation is going to be really important, which is why it was funny when he said, like, oh, we can run back in May. We're going to run back in June. That was never going to happen. He needed to really work on a game plan now.
Well, I'll tell you
I don't
what,
think he had a game
should have
plan.
Algieri emphasizes that this fight is no longer just about Davis's raw power. It's about how he adapts to the unexpected challenge Roach poses. After their first encounter, Davis knows that Roach is no easy opponent and that he will be tested in ways he hasn't been before. This time, preparation is key, and Davis needs to refine his strategy to avoid being caught off guard again. The pressure is on him to make the necessary adjustments, and Algieri suggests that rushing back into the ring without proper planning would have been a huge mistake. Roach's performance in their first meeting forced Davis to realize that he's in for a real battle. As the conversation about the rematch intensifies, Chris Algieri talks about the potential outcome if Gervonta Davis comes fully prepared with a new game plan.
And does his homework and does his due diligence and comes prepared with a different game plan and then comes out victorious. One, now we could have a trilogy.
Yeah, but you know what I'm going to say?
Which would be nice. Which would be nice.
Algieri highlights that if Davis takes the time to truly analyze his first fight with Roach and adjust his approach accordingly, he could come out victorious. And that could lead to a trilogy. The rematch will be crucial for Davis, and if he proves he's learned from his past mistakes, it could set the stage for even more intense battles. However, Algieri's playful comment hints that the road to a trilogy might not be as straightforward as some might think. For Davis to earn that third fight, he'll need to be at his absolute best. A victory for Davis in this rematch is no guarantee. It's going to take everything he's got. Roach won't make it easy, and that's exactly what makes the potential trilogy so intriguing. After Chris Algieri suggested that a win for Gervonta Davis could lead to a trilogy, Paulie Malignaggi offers a different perspective on why a third fight might not happen so soon.
I want to say, Gervonta had too much PTSD to see that guy again right away. He needed a break. You know, he
that's
didn't wanna
another
see that.
way to
He didn't want to see that
put it.
guy.
That was a tough fight.
I need a break from Lamont Roach. That's what he said.
But Paulie, who has a danger?
He almost fought Jake Paul. They would negotiate the Jake Paul fight.
Well,
He almost didn't want to see him at all anymore. He's like, I saw him twice in the
Well, no,
amateurs.
if he won,
I
he
seen
was
him in the
supposed to
pros.
go right.
Malignaggi argues that Gervonta might not be mentally prepared for a trilogy, even if he wins the rematch. According to Paulie, Davis has already been impacted by the first fight, dealing with what he calls PTSD, making him hesitant to face Roach again. The fight with Roach left such a mark on him that he needed time away from that challenge, and Malignaggi believes that even if Davis gets the victory, he might not be eager for a third round. Unlike Algieri's optimistic take on a potential trilogy, Paulie suggests that the mental toll could prevent Davis from wanting to continue the rivalry. Following the discussion about the mental aspect of the rematch, Paulie Malignaggi shares his thoughts on how Lamont Roach should approach the fight.
I think you go in with the same mentality if you're Lamont, because you're playing on the mental weakness of Gervonta Davis, and that's something that's hard to overcome if a fighter doesn't have a spine when things get tough. You can't just go get one.
Yeah, but you got to make it tough.
You got to make it tough, and Lamont made it tough the first time around. You know, so
But I think there's going to be a different fight.
Malignaggi believes that Roach's strategy should remain the same, targeting Davis's mental weaknesses. According to Paulie, Davis has shown that when the pressure's on, he can crumble, and Roach is fully aware of this. Roach doesn't need to change his approach, but should continue to make the fight as difficult as possible for Davis. In their first encounter, Roach pushed Davis to his limits, exposing cracks in his mental toughness. However, Malignaggi warns that the rematch will be different, suggesting that Davis may come better prepared mentally this time. Still, the key for Roach will be to keep testing Davis's resolve and make him fight through the pressure. As Paulie Malignaggi continues to break down the strategies for the rematch, he emphasizes how Lamont Roach should approach the fight based on what worked in their first encounter.
I think you go in with that mentality, with that closed guard mentality. You cut the ring, you step to him, but don't give him the openings. You know, when he punches at you, you don't give too much ground so that he doesn't get his breaks. You know, you put that mental pressure, just like Lamont did in the first fight. And I think you keep in mind a couple of minor adjustments. Maybe throw a few more jabs, maybe upping the pressure a little bit earlier in the fight than you did in the first fight.
Malignaggi suggests that Roach should maintain the same aggressive yet strategic approach, not giving Davis any room to breathe. By cutting off the ring and staying in Davis's face, Roach can continue to apply the pressure that threw Davis off in their first bout. However, Paulie points out that some slight tweaks are needed, such as increasing the jab and ramping up the pressure earlier in the fight. These small changes can make a big difference, keeping Davis on edge and preventing him from finding a rhythm. Roach's success lies in controlling the pace and making Davis fight under constant pressure, just as he did before. Building on the previous strategy discussion, Paulie Malignaggi emphasizes the importance of sticking to the core game plan while making small tweaks for the rematch.
Just small minor adjustments to a game plan that I think was already solid. And you leave it up to Gervonta to see what he's going to do. And that's why you make those slight minor adjustments with maybe using more jabs and things like that. But overall, I think the skeleton of your game plan has to be the same. I remember when I fought
Malignaggi believes that Roach's foundation from the first fight was already effective, and the main focus should be on maintaining that solid strategy. While slight adjustments like more jabs are helpful, Paulie argues that Roach shouldn't stray too far from what worked initially. The core approach that put Davis on the back foot should remain intact. Roach's pressure, his defense, and his ability to make Davis uncomfortable are what gave him success. Minor tweaks are just that, tweaks, not a complete overhaul of the game plan. Sticking to what works will be crucial for Roach's chance at victory. As the conversation shifts to the potential for a fair decision in the rematch, Paulie Malignaggi brings up the importance of judges and their role in the outcome, especially considering how many people feel Lamont Roach was robbed in their first match.
Where if Lamont fights the correct fight, the judges will be looking not to rob him. If they have any kind of backbone themselves, which you can't guarantee with judges, because they're many of them are spineless, absolutely spineless. But you would assume here, with the mental pressure the judges have as well, knowing that there's the whole rematch is happening because of the controversy and all this other stuff, that any close rounds now may go to Lamont's route. May go to Lamont instead of the close rounds going to Gervonta on the Gervonta scorecard. It's something to keep in mind. There's always a psychology behind all the fights.
Malignaggi acknowledges the unpredictable nature of judges' decisions, especially in a fight as heated as this one. While the judges' integrity is always in question, he points out that the rematch's context, based on controversy from the first fight, could influence their scoring. With the pressure mounting, judges might be more inclined to favor Roach in tight rounds, knowing the eyes of the boxing world are watching. It's not just about the punches landed. There's a psychological game at play, and the mental pressure on the judges could affect their scoring decisions. If Roach fights smart and stays consistent, the mental dynamics in the ring and outside of it could tip the scale in his favor. As Gervonta Davis reflects on the upcoming rematch, he emphasizes the importance of focus and preparation. He knows that the first fight was challenging, and this time he cannot afford to underestimate Lamont Roach. Gervonta is fully aware that any mistake could cost him, and he's determined to come in with a clear, focused mindset. He stated, "This would be the night we have to see the most focus on Tank, because if he's not the most focused, then he's going to be in trouble. It's just that simple." Davis is fully aware that this fight requires more than just physical strength. It's about being mentally locked in. With the stakes this high, there's no room for distractions, and Davis needs to bring everything he has to the ring. Any lapse in focus could allow Roach to capitalize, and Davis cannot afford to take that risk. He stated, "This is the night you got to be not on your A game, you got to be on your everything game. You know what I'm saying? You got to have everything with you that night, and you can't play about it." As Gervonta Davis reflects on the upcoming rematch, he emphasizes the importance of focus and preparation. He knows that the first fight was challenging, and this time he cannot afford to underestimate Lamont Roach. Gervonta is fully aware that any mistake could cost him, and he's determined to come in with a clear, focused mindset. He understands that Roach is not the same fighter from their first encounter, and that this time it's all about executing his strategy perfectly. Every move in the ring will be calculated, and Gervonta intends to show he's learned from the past. As the rematch approaches, Chris Algieri delves into how Gervonta Davis must evolve his strategy against Lamont Roach. He recognizes that both fighters have learned from their previous encounter, and the dynamics will shift. Here's what he had to say.
He's a different animal. So I think that it's not just going to be I could just fight the same fight. Because also, I don't think it's going to be the same fight. I don't think Gervonta's going to bring the same thing.
Can Gervonta fight a different fight?
I think so.
Algieri believes that the rematch won't play out the same way as their first encounter. Roach has evolved, and so must Davis. Gervonta can't rely on the same strategy, as it won't be enough this time around. The first fight showed that Roach can withstand his power and pressure, forcing Davis to rethink his game plan. If Gervonta is to come out on top, he'll need to show a new side, something Roach hasn't seen before. Algieri is confident that Davis can make adjustments, but it's not just about being physically prepared, it's about showing mental adaptability as well. The rematch between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach is set to be a fierce and intense battle. With both fighters having learned from their first encounter, the stakes are higher than ever. Gervonta's focus and preparation will be key, as he needs to prove he can adjust his game plan to outsmart Roach, who has proven that he can take on Davis's best shots. Roach, on the other hand, will look to capitalize on any mental lapses Davis might have, continuing to apply the pressure that made their first fight so competitive. This fight will test both fighters in ways they haven't been tested before. What do you think? Can Gervonta Davis bounce back and prove he's the superior fighter, or will Lamont Roach pull off another surprise? How much of a role will the judges play in this fight, given the controversy surrounding their first matchup? Do you think Davis can fight a different fight this time, or will Roach's relentless pressure be too much for him? Will mental preparation be just as important as physical conditioning in this rematch? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tune in for more videos like this.